Well, and I had to go around twice. I don't know if you did, but I went through the parking lot. There were no spots in the lower section where I usually park, so I came back around again and parked in the upper lot.
I got the last one on the lower.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Everybody else good?
And I was driving home too.
Yes. Linda's ready, I can tell. So ready. All right. Give me my agenda. Good?
We're good.
All right. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Triton Regional School Committee on Tuesday, January 14th, 2020 in the Triton High School Library at 6 p.m. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. I'm going to read aloud our vision statement. We're a community of learners known for our unwavering commitment to meeting the needs of all students through the adoption of best practices and our active partnership with families and the wider community who are united in supporting the development of engaged, successful, responsible, resilient learners. Students will be well prepared to be ethical, empathetic, and contributing citizens. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Mr. Lathrop was nice enough to remind me of this last week, so I'm just going to say it one more time. No need to eat the mics anymore, thank goodness. And if you can try and just click on, click off, especially if it's the person near you that's speaking, just make sure your mic is off because otherwise it kicks up echoes and it makes the recorded audio hard to hear. Did I cover that? Excellent. Thank you. All right. Moving on to Chairpersons Remarks. So we're starting another long, presumably, budget season. They're all long, I think, you know. So we have meetings this week. We're going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. We'll also have additional budget meetings later in the month into February and into March. The schedule is online, should anybody want those dates. The meeting materials are also posted online, so if you happen to be watching at home on the live stream and want to follow along, if you go to, and just do it, the easiest way to find it, in my opinion, is just do a quick Google for Triton Regional Public Postings. It will take you right to our agendas, and you can find the agendas. In our agendas, we put all of the information that's covered in that night, as long as it's foreseeable. If there's something added last minute, then it may only be here in the meeting. But as far as everything that's presented here tonight, all of those are posted online, so you can find them there to follow along. Thank you to the committee. I know this is a 6 o'clock start. It makes these a little bit tougher, at least for me it does. I'm going to assume it does for everybody else too, since we make it have to work a little harder to make it here earlier. It's going to be a long night and a long week, so I appreciate your attention. We'll make it through. It's going to be a great night. Exactly, a great night. All right, so tonight we're hearing from Newbury Elementary, Pine Grove, and then Salisbury Elementary. And I will open it up to oral communications from the public before we get into the budget proposals. Seeing none, I will invite Principal Yando. Are you coming up first? And I think you can just, grab the seat at the end to lead us in.
Okay. Good evening. First, I want to start by acknowledging the teachers and instructional assistants at NES for the honor of being classified as a school of recognition for the high growth our students made last year. And that didn't happen easily. It happened with a lot of teamwork. And as I've said before, I have an excellent teaching staff at Newbury. They work very hard. They collaborate with the special educators, and that's what's really made the difference. So I just want to make sure that I acknowledge them for their hard work. When you looked at the MCAS scores from last year, we exceeded all our targets in all indicators for ELA. And in science, we exceeded all targets, and that included our high needs population did extremely well with their high growth they made in all areas. Mathematics is really the area that, even though we met our target, we actually exceeded our target for the lowest performing students. We met our target for all other indicators. But our data showed, when we analyzed it, that we have a lot of students who are partially meeting the expectations, they're not quite there, and that has to do with they just need a little more intervention. We have so many that are almost there that the work that our math specialist does is vital in helping them. And so I'd like to draw your attention to page 1, where it talks about the request for personnel. I have the rationale why I would like to see my math specialist increase from 0.5 to full-time. The work she does really makes a difference. She does a lot of coaching with our teachers, as well as some interventions with students. She also provides enrichment for our students who do extremely well with Math Olympiad, and then we have online Mathly that she's responsible for. But the work that she does with our students and helping teachers navigate through the curriculum and helping them become better teachers by co-teaching and modeling is needed. And she's only at her school 0.5, and that's not very much time. So I'm requesting that her position be put to full-time. It used to be full-time, and a few years ago it was cut back, and it's made a difference. I believe we can exceed our standards in math. We just need a little more help with that from our math specialist to do that. I also have a request for our custodian. We have 2.5 custodians that work in the evening, and I would like to see that put back to 3 full-time custodians. So that's an increase of 0.5. The building is showing its wear and tear. It needs a lot of work inside, but just the cleanliness with 2.5 and the size of the building, it's really starting to decline. So that's something that we really need at NES. If you go to page 2, you look at the class size. This year in 3rd grade, we have 2 sections. They will move up to 4th grade, and so next year in 4th grade, we'll have 2 sections, and in 3rd grade, we'll have 3. So there's really no increase in teachers. The cohorts would just be moving along. And on page 3, you'll see the 2 positions that I mentioned, the full-time math specialist and full-time custodian. Page 4, the staffing levels. I've already talked about that. And then I want to move you to page 5, where you see that our supply, service, and budget request, I'm asking for an increase of $3,835. A couple things that are new, you'll see on the next few pages. We want to pilot iReady Mathematics in grades 3 and 4. We want to see if it's a fit for NES. So that's a new item. If you look on the next few pages, you'll see that that's new. And that will be administered 3 times a year, like our benchmark assessment that we use now. We're actually piloting it with a couple students in the ASD program, and they've been very successful. So part of it is doing it 3 times a year, but then we also want to use it as interventions for students. We also, something new is empowering writer subscriptions for our special education teachers. They do not have the manuals, so we want to make sure they have the online subscription so the students they're working with have the proper instruction, and that's a new initiative that is in the district this year, empowering writers. And then the main increase in my budget comes around the science consumables and licenses that the teachers need to teach the program, and that's increased by about $4,000. So I'm not asking for a whole lot, just around $3,835 as an increase. If you move to page 10, you'll see some support that we get, mainly from the PTA, to keep a lot of our programs going at NES. They provide all-school assemblies, field trips, environmental camp, curriculum support. You can see what they offer us there. And then the Chrome cart leases, which is huge for us. And then on the last page, you will see the capital improvements. These have been the same since I've been at NES, and I'm still asking for them. Most of it is cosmetics inside the school. It needs to be done. It's looking, I don't know if you've been in the school recently, the tiles are cracked, the walls need to be painted, the bathrooms need work, so I continue to ask for that in capital improvement requests. Any questions?
I was going to say, can I open it up to questions from the committee? Dina?
Hi, Beth. Thank you for being here tonight. One thing, when I was reviewing all of these, I noticed that for Pine Grove and Newberry, there is no request for social worker, which last year that seemed to be a big concern. Is that no longer a concern? And if not, what are we doing differently?
Well, the district has provided us Newberry because of the ASD program with a BCBA, and that's really helped with the behaviors. She collaborates with classroom teachers, not just teachers in the ASD program. So we have someone on site who's really been great, training instructional assistants how to de-escalate behaviors, and teachers as well. So that's really made the difference. So at this point, I do not feel like we need a social worker.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
All right, nobody else has questions, so I'm going to launch in if you don't mind. If I could start with the 0.5 to the 1.0 math specialist. You have a whole list of things there that the role of the math specialist includes. Can you just kind of highlight, is some of this not happening now, or are there specific spots on this list where you would see that extra 0.5 supplementing, or?
I think the 0.5, the main thing would be working with the teachers, co-teaching.
Okay.
The co-teaching and just modeling higher level thinking, problem-solving skills, perseverance in math is really what we need. That's our focus this year. Our math implementation team, we analyzed the data and we really realized that students weren't persevering through problem solving. And she does a lot of that in the classroom and models that for teachers, and it fits the mathematical standards as well. So that's really the support we need, and just some of the diagnostic testing that she can do with students. Sometimes we have a student, we're just not quite sure where their gaps are in math, and she'll provide a diagnostic testing, and then we'll analyze that, and then we'll have a focus. And she's great at providing resources, but really what she's doing at NES is almost a full-time job, so I worry about that as well. And she is at Salisbury as well. So it's a lot going in between two buildings, and what we need, we're not getting as far as professional development for teachers and interventions for students.
Okay. On page 2, under the enrollment changes, where it says grade 4 will be reduced by one section, that's just grade 4 this year, right? So I'm assuming that you
Yeah,
have a
grade
teacher
3's
shift
moving up.
essentially every year, probably,
Yeah,
as this smaller class.
That group of 2 will move right up through,
Okay,
so.
all right, that was my assumption. I just want to
Yep.
make sure I was understanding that properly. And on page 7, looking at the 2 iReady mathematics, I was trying to remember, do we have that now for 5 and 6? And this is trying to add 3 and 4? I know that
No,
some of them are using
we want
iReady
to pilot
already,
it in
right?
grades 3 and 4. Right now, we do Dibbles, Easy CBM
Okay,
in our grade levels, and we want to try this with grades 3 and 4.
okay. But 5 and 6 already have iReady, or no?
They
So with
do,
this-
they do in ELA, but not in math.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
We're-
There's another elementary school that, I'm sorry. Two of the elementary schools are also piloting different grade levels, could be a class with the iReady math.
Okay.
So folks tried it over the course of this year, and I want to say some did so as well as last year, and now they want a formal agreement where they would put a certain grade level in iReady math and use it very similar to the way we use the iReady benchmark to identify kids who have not met grade level standards, and then it identifies which standards they need to focus in on.
okay.
Yep.
So am I understanding correctly then that 3 and 4 would be using this, but 5 and 6 would not?
Yeah, grades 1, 2, 5, and 6 will continue with the Dibbles Easy CBM.
Okay,
And we want to try the iReady mathematics because it really is more diagnostic than the one we're currently using. So we want to try it on a couple grade levels and see if it gives us more information to provide intervention.
okay. And would the intent be that as these students move up in grades, that we would add potentially iReady 5 in grades 5? It just seems unusual, like a lot of times, we have that continuity.
Right, so I think we're still in the early stages of determining the impact and if this is the best benchmarking system for math.
Okay.
So I would say that we will continue to have conversations, especially if more grade levels are going on board and trying it, to find out if that particular benchmark assessment is helpful for the information that they need. I want to say for a lot of them, they're targeting some of our areas where we are struggling in math, and those are the priority areas. So instead of saying we're going to adopt it for every single grade level, to give us a couple of years of data to see what the impact is, and if it truly does help us align our curriculum and provide interventions that are really laser focused, we want to make sure that it's going to do what we want it to do. And so for us to try it out, it would make sense for us to kind of target certain grade levels that may or may not have had some gaps before we do a financial investment at the district level where we say we're going to go this route.
Okay.
In that grade 3 and 4, the grade levels where we see a large group of students who are partially meeting.
Okay.
And this is a little more diagnostic, so we want to try it to see if it's going to give us more information to really target those areas.
Okay. And would this be in addition to what's already being used, or would this replace?
It would replace,
It would replace,
for grades
okay.
3 and 4, would do something different next year.
So they have a math benchmark, it's not iReady. So this, if they're not going to be doing both, they would take the other one off.
Okay.
And then add this one on instead, or put this
Okay.
one instead.
And is there any savings in taking those off, or no?
I'm not sure
I
what
think
the
there actually
schools-
was a little savings, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
'cause
already
it's a
built
do-
in
Yeah,
here?
that's already built in.
Okay, all right. Sorry, page 8, the Empowering Writers subscription, I'm guessing from the word subscription, is this something annual?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so they got it this year through the district, but if
Okay.
they wanted to continue it, and we do have the hard copies for them, but it's a set, so they kind of borrow them. But we did this year get them a subscription, but it is an online subscription, so it's $100 per year. So that would be an expense that if the teachers decided at the school level, if they wanted to continue to use that online resource, they would just have to pick it up and put it in their budget.
Okay. So if it's $100 per year, what is the $525 in the budget covering?
It's
That's-
$100 per book, per subscription for each grade level.
Okay.
It's for the special educators, so we have more than
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't know, sometimes it's
Yeah.
a site, sometimes it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
classroom,
No,
sometimes it's
yeah, no.
an actual computer, like.
Yeah, so one person gets one subscription per year at I want to say it's $100. There might be one that's $125.
Okay.
And that's a reoccurring cost. So when we did a cost analysis last year determining whether we wanted to do the manual or the online subscription, the manual is $100, a one-time fee. And the lessons are fairly basic in the sense where most likely there's not a lot of revisions that are going to be occurring.
Okay.
So it just made sense to go that route with the teachers and then offer the online subscription to the special educators, one per grade level,
Okay.
and give them a chance to try it out this year.
In that we have the books already, are those going to be able to be used by other schools? Now that, I'm assuming New River Elementary had a set of those books last year?
So
but those are now.
so the reading specialist has a set of Empowering Writers books, K all the way up to 6.
Okay.
So that she kind of has the hub of all of the books, and she helps teachers plan. So she accesses those manuals as well. So they will always be there.
Okay.
And sometimes you have instructional assistants who need an extra copy of the book. So every teacher has their own copy of the book. But in addition, we have one extra set that all of the teachers, whether you're an interventionist, has access to. In addition to that, because people were sharing and it was getting a little complicated, to say the least, there were also videos that you can access through the online subscription. So that's why we purchased one online subscription
Okay.
for each special educator to gain access to.
Okay, all right. I think that makes some more sense. And this is just a question that just came up. You had mentioned that the science curriculum, I'm assuming it's the consumables licenses, was an increase here. I was wondering where the extra money was.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it is.
Okay, that is where it is. And is that something that's an ongoing cost as well that will be, I mean, given that it's consumables, that we'll be seeing every single year? Okay, and where was that last year? Was that, given that it wasn't here,
That was in
presumably,
our
or-
overall startup cost. So when we adopted the curriculum, there was an overall startup cost that there were some consumables, and then there were some items that needed to be part of those, that program scales, that type of stuff. That's not a consumable, but it's not a textbook either. So we covered the cost of that initial implementation. Now that we've covered the initial cost for that, now the second layer or the second cost is just the consumables that will be utilized each year as the students participate in some of those science practices.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. And I think that might have been it. Hang on, let me just look quickly through. No, yeah, that was it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Maureen.
Beth, I just wanted to ask you quickly about the capital improvement list. I know you've asked every year that I've been on the committee for some of these things. Is there anything that you view as like a priority that could be safety issues for students? I know you've talked a lot about the
I would say
tiles. Are they coming up?
The restroom partitions, the bathrooms need a lot of work.
Okay.
Luckily, I have a very good head custodian who can secure them, but they're not going to last much longer.
Okay.
In the carpets, I would say in the circle, they've been there for years. The students are on them. They're old, they're buckling. They need to be replaced.
Is that's part of the big 15 classroom or?
The 13 classrooms, yeah.
Okay. So that cost of 56,000, I mean, is that something that could be broken up too? If you're saying that the circle,
Yeah, if we wanted to do a couple every year and just kind of work our way around the circle, we could certainly do that. The building really needs paint as well in the interior. A lot of the tiles are cracked. It's just looking kind of old. I mean, when I bring new families in and give them a tour, I like notice every dirt spot on the wall.
yeah.
So it'd be nice to walk through and say, ooh, it's so shiny and clean, but it's needs some work.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So if I can just clarify too, so that's, we've had the discussions with DCC on the regional agreement and the landlord-tenant relationship. So some of these, a lot of these cross boundaries between what is a district cost and what is a town cost. So Newbury has certainly invested in Newbury Elementary with some major repairs on the roofs and such, and they have it as part of their capital plan. But I think that there's another discussion in the works and needing to be had in regards to a kind of I don't think it's to the scope that Rowley just dealt with Pine Grove School, which was we'll call it a complete gut and redo. But it definitely does need a project to bring it into the 21st century.
Linda? I'll come back to you.
The iReady for math, is the license, you need new licensors to add to the ones that we use for the reading?
This would be different. Am I say that? I don't know if I heard your question
Well,
totally.
I saw that you had licensures. Is that licensure extra money for the iReady math that you want to introduce?
Yes.
Okay. And I just want to say that I think it's great that you're looking at things to make sure that all students for everything are being included to try and bring them up to where they should be. I think it's a great idea.
Back to Maureen.
I guess my question's for Brian then now. Brian, has there been discussions yet with Newbury about these capital costs or?
These specific costs, I mean, there's been ongoing discussions about various costs. I mean, recently, I know there was work done on the roof. I know they redid the gymnasium floor.
Yep, in the small gym, we have a new floor, which is lovely, and then they've been constantly working on the roof.
So there's been lots of informal discussions, but there have been some informal discussions about just the fact that now Newbury Elementary, the renovation was done in 1994. So 26 years later, there's been considerable investment by the town over recent years. So it's, like I said, it's not a complete tear down and rebuild, but I think that basic finishes and things like that in HVAC are going to need a major overhaul in the coming years if they want to keep the building on par. So informal discussions, yes. Formal discussions, no, not yet.
So we won't really have a sense of what Newbury's willing to cover costs for, though, before we meet for our workshop, right?
No.
Okay.
suggest too, that's probably a long-term discussion. That's not a, whatever, 2 weeks to the workshop discussion.
Yes.
So,
Well, that's
not
why
that you
I asked.
expected it to be.
Yeah, and that's why I asked what the priorities are, because if there's issues that are, could risk safety of students, I think that has to be done right away, as soon as possible, as soon as we can fund it.
And I would say, as a general rule, our head custodians are good in working with Chris Walsh to make sure if there are any safety concerns, that those are addressed. That doesn't mean everything looks pretty, but as far as addressing safety concerns, we do address those right away. Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Principal Yando. I know this
Thank
is
you.
a lot of work to put together. So many thanks to you and your school council for doing a very thorough job.
You're welcome.
And for coming here tonight. And with that, I think you're passing the mic to Principal Nealons.
So as they're transitioning, I probably should have given a little bit of an introduction just to say, this is not a long, extensive process here at the table, but just reminded me, as you said that there's a lot of work and a lot of discussions that go into these documents and these numbers. And as simple as that may sound, if it's a matter of an hour and a half meeting, it's an important first step so that everyone hears directly, you as the committee and publicly folks hear directly what the needs are. Again, we're not generating wish lists. We're not generating, the kind of the pie in the sky scenarios. We're developing budgets and making proposals based on what the principals believe are the needs for them to provide an adequate education for our students. So, with that said, I just want to make sure if some of these meetings are going quicker and the presentations, now that we don't have the school improvement plans aligned with them, the presentations are shorter, but that certainly doesn't diminish the importance of this step in the process. So now, unless I'm handing it back to you, I'll happily hand the mic over to Christine.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start out with some successes that we have taking place at Pine Grove this year. Our building renovation is complete, so there will not be any capital improvements being requested at all, thankfully. Since the project has been done, I have to say the new arrival and dismissal procedures are flawless. Having the car riders and the walkers out in front with parents dropping off and picking up out front and the buses around the back, it's been an unbelievably big difference for the beginning of the day and the end of the day. We have a very strong school community. Morale's fairly high right now, and everyone's pulling together and working as a team. Our data meetings, progress monitoring meetings with administration, and our win time is going really well. Regarding empowering writers, all teachers have truly embraced this curriculum and are totally engaged with it. There's been a great deal of grade-level professional development surrounding this curriculum, and the teachers have launched right into it, and it's been really exciting to see that. Regarding the science curriculum, our teachers continue to implement the curriculum, and they're also working with our 2 science ambassadors in the building, as well as Anna Bates. Regarding the new social studies curriculum, John Collier is the only 6th grade teacher that will be piloting the new social studies curriculum, which is McGraw-Hill Ancient Civilization 1, and that starts this year, so we're very proud of that. This year, we launched into the zones of regulation. It's a school-wide initiative. I know Newbury does that as well, and all staff are implementing it. We had some wonderful PD at the beginning of the year by Dr. Angela Mousseau, and she helped us kick off the zones of regulation initiative, and all teachers are using it in their classrooms. Tracker, our therapy dog, continues to be a big hit with our staff and our students. Our new playground is a huge success. If you haven't had a chance to come by and see it, I highly recommend that you take a peek at it. It's really amazing. And our PTA continues to be an amazing and very generous board, providing many enrichment activities to improve teaching and learning. We've had a lot of fun, exciting events take place thanks to them. Challenges have been not having, as Dina pointed out regarding her question to Beth, about not having a social worker. As you know, for many years, I have requested a social worker to no avail. And this year, based on the work that we have done with our school council and my faculty, we decided we would like to request a full-time BCBA. To Beth's points, we're finding that the part-time person that is in our building a couple of days a week has been very effective with our students that are behaviorally challenged, as well as our students that have severe anxiety. We also have a lot of kindergarten and preschool children that are coming in that have some learning challenges, but they require an ABA approach, but not necessarily the district program at Newberry. So that's why we are requesting a full-time BCBA.
Chris,
Yeah.
can I just interrupt and, too close, sorry. Explain what a BCBA is.
A board-certified behavior analyst. So they work with teams of teachers, they assess students, and then they create behavior plans that are to be implemented by teams of teachers that work with kids. And they do a lot of data collection, and the data is reviewed weekly, and behavior plans are tweaked. But we're finding that at least the person we have coming into our building this year has been incredibly effective, especially regarding a student that we just brought back from an out-of-district placement, and he's being really successful with her support, working with our team, and that was the goal from the beginning. Did I answer that okay? Yeah. All right.
A+.
It's been particularly challenging not having a full-time math specialist for many of the reasons that Beth said. Our math specialist is part-time math specialist, part-time reading interventionist. So a lot of our teachers are lacking or not getting the coaching that they need. And also the math specialist is not able to provide interventions during win time as much as we would like her to. We seem to have some students that are not able to move the needle in math, and in particular some grade levels. So having a full-time, increasing the math specialist to full-time, we're hoping will help us get to that where students are going to move the needle, and the person will be able to get in and do more coaching with the teachers to support our math instruction. We're also requesting a .5 custodian that we lost that position 2 years ago. Pine Grove School is just about a 90,000 square foot building, and my fear is that we have two full-time evening custodians, and it's a big building, and where we just went through this renovation, my fear is that things are going to start to fall apart if we don't have the manpower or woman power to keep up with what needs to keep that building looking clean, beautiful, and safe. Oh, one other success I skipped over was that the safety and the security in the building has been phenomenal since the renovation as well. If you look at my spending, I was able to keep within the budget that I had this year, and I believe last year as well. And I just want to clarify regarding iReady Math. We are using it this year, iReady Math grades 2 through 6, and we're finding it to be very beneficial. So I highly recommend, I'm putting in a plug for Beth to be able to get that in her school. So we're using it grades 2 through 6, and it's a great diagnostic program for math interventions.
And they were using Ames Web
We're
prior.
still using Ames.
Oh, you are still?
For kindergarten and first grade, we
Okay.
use Ames Web Plus.
Yep.
2 through 6 is iReady Math, and 3 through 6 is iReady for reading.
So just to clarify, we had a math benchmark in place. It was not iReady. It was two different programs at two different schools. So now schools are exploring the use of iReady in the area of math to look at benchmark and progress monitoring. So for this case, I would say, was it, when you switched out to iReady Math, was it a fairly even cost?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was able to do it for the budget I'm currently in.
Yep, okay, that's why I just wanted to make that.
Deb?
This is a general question. I'm hearing what Beth said and what you said about math programs and iReady, and is the goal, if things go well, to get everybody on the same, do you have a target for when that might happen, when everybody would?
I would say after next year, we will have a better understanding of the platform, and we will also have an opportunity to meet with, we're going to meet with the math implementation team on the end of the month, so that will be certainly a topic that we will be discussing, as well as having conversations all of next year with the math specialists, and then make a decision as to which direction we're going to be going with the math benchmarks.
Christina, when you started your comments, you made reference to zones of regulation. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so it was created by, I believe, an OT. So there are, it was created by an OT. I can't remember the woman's name. But there's zones, there's 4 colors. Red is when you're angry and you're mad. We want all kids to be in the green zone. That's the zone you're able to work in. Yellow is when you're kind of getting out of that green zone. And I'm blanking on the 4th color.
Blue.
Blue. Blue is when you're feeling sad, down, blue. That's it. So all the teachers use this in the classroom, and it's really great because kids will come into the office for a certain reason, and I'll say, what zone are you in right now? I feel like I'm coming out of the green and getting into the yellow, but I really want to get back into the green. So we're able to process with them. And actually, I walked by a classroom not too long ago, and I heard the teacher saying, guys, you're putting me in the red zone right now. So we're using it, and it's very effective. So.
Thank you.
Other questions? Oh, Dina, go ahead, sorry.
Chris, on page 5, the second paragraph, you're talking about the .5 math specialist that you want. The last line is replacing the .5 reading interventionist would be an increase to, give the amount 40,766. Are you asking for that person as well, or are you just demonstrating what the cost?
Want to lose right now. My math specialist is .5 reading interventionist,
Right.
.5 math. So if she becomes full-time math, I would have to hire a new person to be that reading interventionist.
Thank you.
Part-time.
Any other questions? Deb?
On that same page, if it's a 2.0 and is 170,766, is that's salary for which 2 people?
It would be the custodian, and the increase, because the math specialist is currently already employed.
Right.
So she already has a salary, and then it would be the .5 reading interventionist. BCB, I'm sorry.
So 1 custodian and a .5 BCB, that's your,
So you have to add benefits in. So you think about the fact that
well, that's why that was actually what I was asking, because it says salary, but that does include benefits? Okay.
We were told by Michelle Presser prior to before she left, she gave us figures to use if we were to increase and what those figures would be, including benefits.
Right, but, yes, I'm just getting wordy on you, just.
I'm assuming I did my math correct, Mr. Gordon.
I think you did, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify. I think that was the piece that you were missing too, that it's a 1.0 BCBA, a .5
Yeah.
custodian, a .5.
For a total of 2.0
Yes.
Numbers not my thing.
Well, it's confusing FTE.
Yes, it is.
Bodies.
2.0 FTE.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, when we add a benefits package, if someone takes the full family plan of everything, it's about $18,800.
Any other questions? All right, I have 2. My first one is about the part-time BCBA that you have that's bringing hours in there right now. Is that a contracted services or is that, how is that?
Yes, so this person works between Raleigh, Salisbury, the middle, and the high school.
Okay.
One person's doing those 4 buildings.
So it's in the special education budget currently, contracted services in the special education budget? That's what I was trying to figure out.
No, so last year, if you recall, we had hired 2 BCBA's that are salary positions that are already in there.
Okay.
One was for the need at NES because of the intensity of the ASD programs, but she's also been able to help out with the other students. The other was a district-wide that is split between the other schools.
Okay.
So, and it's both going very well and they're very well received, but I think people are also wanting more because
Yeah.
it's, so we're getting much more out of it when we're using contracted services. And, I mean, one good example is when a student needed some extra help, Chris and I could talk and then reassign that person to stay at a building for a longer period of time. But I think even with the improvement, the theme seems to be that we still need more behavioral support throughout the district.
Okay.
So the salary positions are already in the budget with benefits and everything.
I think for some reason I thought I had heard at some point that we were having trouble hiring those, so I thought they got switched back
I
to
don't know how
contracted
we
services.
found 2 very good people, so.
So we're now going a year and a half back. So
Yeah.
in the FY,
Oh,
what are
maybe
we at,
that's what it
20? In the
was.
FY 18 developed budget, or 19, we tried to hire and couldn't.
Okay.
So the money was in there, and we had contracted services. In fiscal '20, we actually were able to hire the new program at at Newbury, and then the floater, if you will, going between schools. Lorraine is now an employee.
Okay.
So,
All right, that makes sense.
so that's not totally, you're remembering that. It's a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah. So in hiring in the 1.0 request, is the assumption then that the BCBA that's at Pine Grove part-time would then split the time between other schools, and it would simply be the 1.0 at Pine Grove? Or is the 1.0 in addition to the hours of the BCBA that's already working there part-time? Does that make sense? So is it just the new solo person, or is it the solo person and that the person that's existing already would remain split?
So I'm not speaking, well, I guess I'm, yeah. So yeah, Chris is, I think, is requesting one for her building specifically, and
Okay.
part of the reason is because we have been able to bring back a student or two from and out of district that requires a lot of services. So if that was to go through, then the person we have now would then be able to just service the other 3 schools.
Okay.
Or,
Oh, well.
Sought after commodity.
So I think we'd have to leave that up to you guys if push comes to shove. Okay. I figured the way that there were glances being thrown over there. Something was afoot. And I was really hoping that somebody else on the committee was going to bring this up, but I have to ask about class sizes, and I will be upfront and say I have a child in this class. But 5th grade at Pine Grove, those classes are by far the largest in the district, and it looks like we haven't made it there yet, but the second largest class in the district, they're actually looking to drop the class sizes there even more. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, so this particular cohort, personally, the benefit would have been to have hired a teacher when I requested it several years ago. Those kids were in 1st and 2nd and 3rd grade. But I discussed this with my school council, and based on the information I was able to give them, and one of the parents on my school council has a child in that grade.
I think.
Yeah, actually.
Yes.
When I talk about the BCBA versus the teacher, the priority was the BCBA. These kids are going to be in 6th grade next year, and I know that there are some middle schools in the state of Massachusetts that do have class sizes of 25. In a middle school, 6th grade is middle school in some school districts. So again, the priority, and then I reviewed it with the staff at my last staff meeting, and the staff, we kind of took a poll. The staff felt if we had to prioritize, it was to be a BCBA versus a classroom teacher. I have 3 really strong 6th grade teachers, and I think that they'll manage fine.
So
Switch classes.
what was the increase between, in new students over last year coming into this year?
For 5th grade?
Yeah, because I believe it was lower than this, right?
I want to say we registered, I think, 3 new 5th graders this year, 3 to 5. I'd have to go back and double check.
Okay, so if the same were added this year, what would you do? Because that would bring it up into 26s and 27s.
Which I've had before at Pine Grove.
Okay.
Just so you know, I've had class sizes of, my first year at Pine Grove, my 4th grade cohort was 27, 27, and 28. It's high, but again, the priority would be the BCBA.
Okay. Deb?
How much was saved by bringing those 2 students back, approximately?
say probably, I think we're talking about one at the moment. I'm trying to think if there was another school, but probably close to 60,000 in tuition, and then plus transportation costs, so 70-ish.
So about the cost, sort of, kind of. But
Yeah.
is there another one coming back? Did you say 2? I thought,
I think I'm trying to think.
We're trying to prevent other students in our lower grades
oh,
from going out.
believe me, I understand that, but I thought you said there were 2 that
It
had
was
come
another
back.
school, I think.
Oh, okay.
But I think we also, when we're, or if I'm trying to work with a family, with a student in and out of district placement, it goes a lot more smoother if we can say, and by the way, we have this person who's going to be full-time in the building that's going to be able to assist, because that's, that makes all the difference in the world to assure families that we're going to have at least equal to or more access to behavioral support than you would have otherwise. Because a lot of the, even outside placements might only have one for the whole school. So I think we're being very proactive and having a good amount of people that are trained. And then besides actually working with students directly and teachers, they've also been able to provide safety care training. And when we used contracted services, it was more money and we had less time because, I mean, BCBAs right now, if you're contracting, are probably roughly between $115 to $130 per hour to consult. And that's the going rate for every school in the district. That's if they work through a company. So we're certainly, it's definitely proactive, and we're improving services and saving money at the same time.
And I just want to say, having worn David's hat in this district in the past, the last thing.
Sorry.
It's on.
Sorry.
Yep. The last thing that I ever want to do is recommend that, at a team meeting with a team that a child goes out of district. We always want to try to keep them in our buildings to the best of our ability, and I truly believe having a full-time BCBA, we're going to be able to do that.
Any other questions? Seeing none? All right, thank you. And I'll try not to say it every time, but I know it's a huge amount of work, so we appreciate that and your school council and everything that's gone into this. And Principal Montanari, I believe you're up.
All right, now it's on. Oh, yeah. Good evening and Happy New Year. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about the FY21 budget in Salisbury Elementary School. I want to thank the school council members for their assistance and central office for their understanding and support. And thank you to the following groups of educators for helping with the FY21 budget process: my professional development team, science implementation team, math implementation team, and the literacy implementation team. SES is a dynamic learning institution made up of educators who deeply care about students' overall well-being, parents who want what is best for their child, and a community that is extremely supportive of SES, and 100% of students who have potential. Since we last spoke, we've had many exciting events happen at SES. Over the summer, Ms. Gilbert and I worked with Habitat for Humanity. Once again, the SES PTA earned the National PTA School of Excellence. This prestigious recognition is a symbol of their incredible work as national leaders in developing strong family-school partnership. Our neighbors' table in Amesbury provided a farmer's market at our open house. 1,850 pounds of food went directly to 148 families. Booster-thon Fun Run Challenge. The goal was to raise $20,000, and I would get slimed, 36 gallons to be precise. Although we fell short of the mark, $15,000, the effort and attitude that was demonstrated by students, teachers, staff, and parents was priceless, so I was slimed. Specialist planning with grade 5 and 6 teachers to integrate STEM scopes during Unified Arts every Friday. SES was awarded the Fresh Fruit and Veggie Grant. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we provide healthy fruit or veggie sample to all students and share some fun facts about what they are eating. In November, we hosted a family game night. SES joined other educators from Triton to play basketball against the Harlem Wizards. I had the opportunity to present the importance of the principal network at the ASCD conference in DC. The SES Student Council created the SES Wonderland tree, which was displayed at the Festival of Trees. And finally, Junk to Funk is back for another wonderful performance. The effort and attitude theme as part of the SES is what it's all about. We celebrate throughout the year the positive office referrals, PBIS super tickets, academic growth recognition, and effort and attitude postcards, pencils, and bracelets. The celebrations vary, but the message is clear. A positive attitude paired with a strong effort leads to a great achievement, no matter the task. As a whole, SES understands that before academic learning can begin, students first need to be happy, feel and be safe, and have confidence. Then we will teach students to read well, develop number sense, and demonstrate empathy for self and others. We do this by focusing in on 3 areas: relationships, the trust, the strong teacher-student relationship, knowing and understanding students and meeting each child where they are and always doing what is in the best interest of the student. Curriculum, the system, a powerful equalizer ensuring strong teaching and learning in every classroom. the pedagogy, the people, the method and how we teach, direct explicit instruction with purpose, being true to the curriculum, teaching with fidelity, the ability to keep the three big ideas in the forefront while integrating open and honest communication, using data to inform instruction, developing a growth mindset, and taking care of self has resulted in SES being a true professional learning community. For the development of the FY21 budget, decisions were based on data and our belief system in regards to relationships, curriculum, and pedagogy. On page 4, our current projected enrollments. As you can see, we have almost 500 students with 24.5 teachers. My hope is to keep the same number of teachers next year. Tier 1 instruction is the most important tier of the 3 tiers in RTI. Low class size and quality instruction will have the greatest impact on student learning. And that is what I want to give to our students.
Jim, can I just clarify?
Yes.
So I know the page numbers changed a little bit.
Oh,
so that's,
sorry.
So you're back by 2. So it's page 2 is the class sizes. I don't want people to lose track of where you were.
Page, oh, I see. I see. Okay. On page 4, the personnel budget request, we request the following. Like NES and Pine Grove School, we are asking to restore the math specialists. Restoring the math specialist position across the district is the right thing to do. Cutting this position has had direct impact on providing year-long professional development and coaching of Tier 1 instruction. Based on the needs supported by the data, SES is asking for an additional social worker. When it comes to supporting students affected by childhood trauma, the more we learn, the better we can address their needs. The additional social worker will move us forward to where we want to be. In education, one will find 2 trains chugging along, the academic train and the social emotional train. The goal is to merge the 2 to have one educational train focusing in on the whole child, and an additional social worker will help us achieve this goal. SES is also asking for an additional high-level support IA for kindergarten. This will allow a classroom IA and a high-level support IA in the kindergarten classrooms. For the past few years, we've had students arrive at SES who need a bit more attention to begin their first experience in a school setting. Instead of changing the role of the classroom IA, the high-level of support IA would take the responsibility of working directly with specific students. This will allow us to be proactive for the incoming kindergarten classes, which are made up of students with great potential. Finally, as the other schools, we are asking for the restoration of full-time custodian. Ron Tatro, Larry Chase, Larry Allard, and Tyler Chase have done a remarkable job, and they continue to do so. The increase from 0.5 to 1.0 will go a long way to maintaining the cleanliness and upkeep while benefiting all who attend, teach, and work at SES. Not too sure where that budget is. Page 6. For supplies and services, the increase of $6,517 to offset the cost of paper or copy paper, empowering writer materials, iReady online math instruction, and benchmark for grades K through 6. On the final page of operating costs funded through other sources, I make reference to the Title I grant and the SES PTA contributions, and we are extremely thankful for the additional monies. Again, I thank you for this opportunity to present the FY21 budget. It's a healthy exercise to share and reflect on the past and the future while maintaining a focus on the present. At this time, I invite questions from the committee on the budget or any other area that you would like clarification. Thank you.
Yes, I don't have questions, but if somebody else, I have to find it. Does anyone want to go before Dina? Paul, do you have one? Yep.
So Jim, I'm just wondering on the section that says SES personnel budget requests, it's page 4 for me, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So in the beginning of each of those identifications of the different teachers, you have an M6. What does that M6 refer to at the very beginning?
Master's Step 6.
Plus 6, but there's different amounts associated with it?
Master's Step 6 for the math specialist was looking at who we already have, and then for the social worker was just using the
grid?
The grid.
Okay, thank you.
Dina?
That was my main question. If you found somebody qualified that wasn't at the M6 level, I mean, I'm sure that person is in consideration.
To further explain, also, we're in a unique situation with Title I, as well as with Dr. Page coming over. So technically, we have a 1.2 math specialist. For the restoration for us would make it to 2.0. Therefore, it's really a 0.8. So it's a restoration of math specialists, so we would end up having 2. And that's a placeholder.
Okay. There was one other question. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was right now. I'll have to come back to it if I remember, sorry.
Anyone else in the committee? All right, I guess it's my turn then.
Okay.
So I have a number of questions. First, on I'll stay on that same page that Dina and Paul were just on. The math specialist that's a 1.0 right now, is that through Title I? I was just trying to get my sources for the current staffing.
No, Kathy Comans is 0.7 through the district.
Okay,
Kathy Comans is 0.3 through Title I.
okay.
Dr. Page is 0.5 through the district.
So you've got, that's adding up to more than I've got here.
No, so Kathy Comans would be moved completely to the district.
Oh, okay. So your 1.2 here is the 0.7 of the district and the 0.5. Okay.
Correct.
All right,
Because Title I has been cut consistently, and if it continues,
Okay.
then what?
okay.
So that's why I did it that
Okay.
way.
Nope, that makes total sense. I was just trying to reconcile that. The social worker, would that be a BCBA as well?
No.
No, not a BCBA. Okay. And just curious why? Now that
Social
we-
workers are working with individuals with trauma.
Yep.
And we have about 75% and dealing with, of students who have trauma and dealing with the numerous challenges. Having an additional social worker to help will move us forward to where we want to be.
Okay. Okay. And the high-level support instructional assistant for kindergarten, it looks like you have 3 kindergarten sections.
Yes.
Would that be a shared resource? Or are you intending to put that person in one classroom?
In one.
One classroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
So each would have it's our belief to have the more support when they were at 5, then less support when they are at 12. So when you can see that we have 16 IAs total, and some of them, a couple of them are one-to-one, most are high level, and some are grade level in classroom. 14 are downstairs, only 2 are upstairs.
Okay.
With 4, 5, and 6. So again, so we're really focused really at the younger age to teach them good skills and to have 2 additional individuals with the teacher, especially with students who have never been in school. And our pre-K, our kindergarten is really made up of only about 50% of our pre-K. So half of our students are coming in with limited experience in school. Some have, but it could be a daycare situation, and that's just different.
Okay, all right. The copy paper, I was just curious because I saw small increases in the budget lines for the other elementary schools, but yours looks huge compared, and maybe that's a question for everybody. Was that something that you took it into account and just wasn't reflected elsewhere, or is there, I mean, it's $1,100?
Yeah, 1,092.
Okay. So,
Just comparing the POs from last year to this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, so it possibly
Probably
is,
costs, more kids, more copies, and so forth.
okay. And this is maybe a Kim question here, but I was trying to sort through when we were going through all the iReady lines here. I think part of it is grade levels when I was trying to sort this out, but even with grade levels, when I was just kind of trying to do a quick compare between Pine Grove and Salisbury, which looks like they'd be similar grade levels, they're still cost different. Can you talk about licensing and?
Okay, so iReady is a platform that does benchmarking. It does math benchmarking, and it does reading benchmarking. In addition to the benchmarking piece of that platform, they have an instructional platform. An instructional not as a core curriculum per se, but as a intervention to help support students. So it aligns perfectly. So the idea is that a student who takes an iReady math benchmark and has some gaps in their learning or some standards that still need to be developed, they will go on the intervention. The intervention is a separate cost than the benchmarking. So I want to say, because of the success that schools have had with the reading benchmark, and if they want to do any type of instructional grouping, they have been, some of the intervention groups do use, and it's in their budget, the iReady instructional component. Now schools are seeing the benefit of using iReady in reading and starting to think more strategically about the alignment with the information they get from the math iReady, and then also introducing the instructional component of the math. So depending on what level of license you have, do you have a license just for the benchmark, or do you have a license that has the benchmark and then added onto it the individual instructional license? All licenses are individual, so it is determined by not a grade level, but per student. So the number of students are going to have an impact in how many licenses, depending on what grade level you get. So there are a lot of moving pieces. Also, not every student, per se, will be given that license for the instructional component. If you only have 20 students, say in grade 3, that are going to be using that instructional component, then that's 20 licenses, beyond if they're testing the entire grade. So right now, we're really in the pilot process where we have different elementary schools trying this new benchmark assessment out. And what they're doing is they are choosing at certain grade levels, again, strategically, to think about what grade level could really benefit from what iReady has to offer, and then implementing in that grade level. We're having conversations at the district level to find out if this truly is going to be a good fit for all of the schools and give them the type of information and support that they need moving forward. We're really not there yet. So in order to support the pilot of what they're doing in small sample sizes, they have asked to put it in their budget. Because sometimes when schools want to pilot something, we certainly can support that to a small degree. But what happens is one school, as we share during leadership, and they the math specialists talk about some of the benefits, and then of course that intrigues other math specialists in schools, and they want to provide that same opportunity for some of their students. So I would imagine that in the near future, there will be some type of presentation if this is truly where we're going to go, so that we can have everybody on the same kind of platform in regards to math, just like we do with the reading benchmark. And that is not to layer on another assessment, that is to replace one where this one is much better in giving us information and aligning interventions.
Okay, and so I guess that is a good explanation, thank you. Because I think that gets down to the level that
I know.
I just couldn't make numbers.
I know.
Make sense.
Right, and you really can't unless you see what they're using, what platform, what grade level, how many students. So it really comes down to that.
Okay, and I would assume that if there is any savings from other assessments not
Yes,
being used,
absolutely.
that it's folded in here in the cost already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Going back to class sizes real quick. This was it was page 2 in ours, 4 in yours.
Yes.
It looks like you're taking the extra teacher that was in, had a fourth grade 6 section last year, and splitting what used to be grade 2, now moving to grade 3. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, and can you talk a little bit about why you're targeting that?
I think using the benchmark of about 65 students is the mark that we've used to ask for 4 classroom teachers. The reason being is I end up having about 50 students coming in yearly extra, and then we have about maybe 20, 25 leaving and you cannot predict that. So using this as being proactive, at this point last year, we did not have 22 in grade 2, and that's made us, it's been a challenge because the students who are coming in are sometimes very challenging. So you might only have 6, but if you really look and understand who's coming in 3 days after New Year's Day and why, we need to have a consistency regarding low class size. And we've always been true to the Tier 1 being the most important throughout the years.
Okay, and last question, no capital improvement requests?
No.
I was just going to say, I
No.
didn't think that could be.
No, nothing major. I mean, things are, we're with repair, but I do know there's a process of Salisbury. I think we're in the process of really taking a very strong look at what needs to be done because, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, is the leases, Salisbury's will be looking to take ownership, but they're not going to take ownership until things are being done. So we're in the process of looking at it. So we're not at this moment to share that.
It's complicated.
Agreed.
But there's nothing immediate that you
No.
would put on this list, safety issues, anything
No,
like
we're
that?
good, they've done a terrific job. Usually it's a boiler, heat, but those we cannot predict.
Okay, all right. Any other questions from the committee? Wow, it's a quiet group tonight. All right, well, thank you for your time, Mr. Montanari, and thank you to your school council for their work as well in putting the budget together.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Yes. So tomorrow night, we'll have middle school, high school, and athletics happening, starting at 6 o'clock. Right now, the committee is going to go into executive session for the purpose of planning negotiations with union personnel, namely the Triton Regional Teachers Association, not to return to open session. I need a roll call vote, please. Oh, wait, Brian has something to say first.
Can I just say thank you to the principals? So
Yes.
the elementary is here tonight, but we have our middle school and high school principal here, and I know they'll be back tomorrow night to support their peers, so I just want to thank the whole team for being here.
I'll make a motion that the committee go into executive session, not to resume open session.
Second, Paul?
Yes.
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 Yes? Yes. All right, thank you very much. We'll see everybody tomorrow.